We haven't done a video at home for a while.
I can't remember the last time we did one.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. So we are going to be talking about the power of the Doctor, which is the last time our lovely decoration will have been seen on telly on that there Doctor Who. So everyone lament. I mean, you're still going to see it in our videos because it's going to be on our wall probably for a very long time. Not with the Halloween thing in the middle though. That's just for Halloween. Have we got a Christmas thing that can go in there? Like he's going to know what our Christmas decorations are. Oh, I know what we can put. We can put the we have. Anyway. Power of the Doctor, the end of the Chris Chibnall era, which hasn't been a favourite of mine, to be honest. But sadly, the end of Jodie, and a lot of reviews are saying this, and everyone just kind of feels for her because she just wasn't served well as her Doctor, generally across the time. And all it does is adds fuel to the fire of the people that were the Not My Doctor Brigade, who are just a bunch of fucking idiots. So, you know, don't want to talk about that. That would just wind me up. I enjoyed it. You know, it was a lot of bonkers, crazy stuff going on. And yeah, I'm sure if you're looking for something with sort of some highbrow writing behind it, this probably isn't your cup of tea. But not really what I wanted. I just wanted fluff and entertainment, and I got it in spades. And there was a lot of fan wank for sure. I know some people that grates on them, but I'm like, if you don't once in a while just sort of like, you know, do something that your fans appreciate, then what's the point of having fans of a show? Really? Do you know what I mean? You can't pander to them all the time. That would be terrible. Also, with Doctor Who fans, that would mean you'd be making programmes that look like they belonged in 1972, which would just be yeah, you'd lucky if you lasted 3 episodes before everyone just went no.
You couldn't anyway, because Doctor Who fans, like most fandoms, can't agree in amongst themselves as to what actually makes Doctor Who.
No, that's true.
Looking at you, Star Wars, Star Trek,
all of them.
Marvel,
all of them. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. What did you think of it overall?
I enjoyed it. It was probably one of my favourite Jodie episodes. Which again, unfortunate that it was also her last episode. For pretty much all the reasons you just said. But I think interesting for me is because obviously you watched it again.
Yeah.
Yesterday?
Yeah, I watched it Sunday night and then I watched it Tuesday afternoon.
So yesterday.
Yeah.
It absolutely, for me, again, you know, I like Doctor Who. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Doctor Who. It really doesn't stand up to any kind of close scrutiny. I think, which I think, to be fair, is a criticism that's been levelled at certainly a lot of the Chibnall era. But in all fairness, having kind of sat through while I've been working, while you've been doing like a rewatch of a lot of like previous Doctors.
Well, I've just gone through the entire Matt Smith run. Yeah.
It does make you realise, and again, I think that an awful lot of this, which again is a problem with fandom, is the rose-tinted spectacle effect. An awful lot of those episodes don't stand up to closer scrutiny either. And you know, a lot of the writing is a bit like...
I didn't even do all the Christmas ones.
I'm not... To be fair, I'm not generally a huge fan of the Christmas episodes because I tend to find them a bit forced. So yeah, there's very few Christmas episodes I can think of, or Christmas specials, I should call them, not episodes, they're specials. That I've actually...
It's like window lickers.
that hand on heart, I'd actually gone, yeah, no, that was a really solid episode of Doctor Who. But yeah, I mean, I like stuff about this. I think it's kind of because there isn't. I think unlike a lot of the earlier ones, there isn't a huge amount really that I personally can talk about in terms of like character progression per se. Although there is one thing that I will come to in a moment, which was something that Paul pointed out, which was actually really valid because we had a whole like 5-minute conversation about it. Because I think that's been one of the biggest problems with this run in general, is that it's felt very much like that they're not characters going on a story arc, a journey, a character development progression, however you want to phrase it. They're just people reacting to stuff. And it's very like almost like bottle episodes in a way. There was one very nice piece of character progression though, which we got to see, which has actually very rarely been done, I think, on any Doctor Who, thinking about it, classic or new.
I know what you're going to say, so I can't agree or disagree.
Which was Yaz, who has clearly spent, plenty of time with the Doctor, to the point where she is picking up and is actually doing it as development and as learning, rather than just magical MacGuffin that suddenly gives her all of these abilities, or just because the writers decided that she's a better character than the Doctor, so therefore she can do all of this wonderful stuff.
Why can she fly the TARDIS? So the story can happen.
Yes.
It wasn't that way around. It was there was this. What I remember we were talking about now. I found it quite nice that she kind of, you know me in memory. It was. I mean, she had to have like the post-it notes and stuff, but she'd kind of picked up enough things by watching to kind of then fill in some gaps. It wasn't from not a clue to I can fly the TARDIS. There was this natural kind of steps to it, after spending years with the Doctor and then kind of making a note. So this, that, and the other. So I thought that was a really nice thing. And she was like able to look at the screen, and it was symbols, but she still kind of knew what it meant and stuff. So it was just seeing her sort of naturally pick stuff up, and have that kind of it's the same as it like I've got friends that have gone to live in other countries with very little grasp of the language, and then you live there day to day life, you pick up a language. People who come to sort of Britain with very little English, pick they without classes will pick up. It's that kind of thing, which I thought was just really, really, really nice. But I thought that this did a lot for character for me. Again, it's under the fan service button, but like the payoff for how did I say at the time, justice for Adric. I just thought it was just a nice moment, to have Tegan look Peter Davison in the eye and kind of acknowledge the grief, and the fact that seeing Cybermen was triggering for her. I thought, it's a 42-year callback, 40-year callback, something like that. When would Earthshock have been? 81? I don't know. But I can remember watching that episode for the first time and being stunned. At the end, and like the silent credits rolling with just his crushed badge on a black background, and sort of stumbling 3 doors down from my neighbour's house where I'd watched it to home to go to bed, just like devastated, like I remember crying. I think that was crying. I think it was more like a ah.
You and I had a very different emotional investment in classic Who.
Well, the thing was I didn't get to watch it all the time, as I think I've mentioned in other reviews. Like again, prime example. For that era, I was having to pop along to my friends further along the terrace we lived in, because they watched it every week, and it wasn't on in our house, and was not going to be on in our house. And at that point, I was 9-ish, 10. I didn't have a TV of my own in the bedroom yet, so children didn't in those days. So I had to go to other friends' houses to watch it. It had to, and that in those days had to be very specially arranged. It wasn't so bad because they lived along the street. I could go, Mum, I'm popping down the Mitchells, and it was all right. But yeah, it wasn't as easy as just going around someone's house and watching it. So yeah, so I've got not just my stomach, Jesus, not just attachment as a fan of the show and the story and the characters, but there's emotional resonance to my life with it as well. So that's, I think that's why that was a nice touch. I didn't actually watch the Seventh Doctor era at all back then. I'd gone I sort of went off it. Well, when Peter Davison regenerated, I was just like, nah, I'm done. And I didn't watch Colin Baker or Sylvester McCoy until my late 20s. And even then, Sylvester McCoy, probably, I think there were some stories I didn't watch until my mid to late 30s. Couldn't hand on heart tell you I've seen all of them even now. Probably have, but couldn't tell you that. But I still knew who Ace was, and I've, through fandom, I've got to know a bit more about the character, and also through other friends, a lot about Sophie Aldred as a performer and as a person. And she is absolutely one of the loveliest people you could ever meet. So kind of the payoff for her was rewarding for me. So to see her come back as Ace, and get, again, there was the moment where she was talking to her doctor, and it was kind of a, doctor doesn't do goodbye, as Yaz said to Dan. So the fact that you had these kind of boxes ticked, I thought was just really, really lovely. And the thing is so that does that for the fans, with like your kids and your families watching today who don't really know what, or don't have that connection. They still get a really nice character moment which is clear enough that they'd understand it. I think that's the difference. It didn't. I doubt any casual viewer was lost by it. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the difference. If you start banging on about bloody censor rights and Macra with no context or anything that belongs in the story, your casual viewers start going, Likewise, if you start suddenly having River Song as her own grandpa or whatever, as Kay quite often says it, because that's the reason she stopped watching Doctor Who whenever that was. That again, it's too complicated, and it pushes the casual fan base away, and that's how the attendance dwindles. So yes, I mean it's
attendance.
Yeah, I was gonna say viewing figures, but viewing figures aren't. I don't think you can measure viewing figures anymore. Because
engagement.
Well, who the fuck watches telly like they used to? Even as back as 2006 and 7, that's anything pre-streaming services, and streaming services. Let's face it, since what we do 2022. So you take streaming services last 10 years since 2012. It has monumentally changed the way we do everything. When do we watch anything live? I mean, I've just smashed the Channel 5 series over the last 2 days that was a technically broadcast drama series in the evenings. I watched it in the afternoons.
And it was terrible.
It was awful. Do not watch House Across the Road. Actually, if you watch it as a comedy, it's probably fine. What was it, House Across the Street? Just don't. Save yourself the problem.
What played Moaning Myrtle from...
Oh, Shirley Henderson. I bless her. She tried so hard. Couldn't save it.
The scriptwriter should have been shocked.
Yeah. Basically, quick aside, they basically went, let's do another Broadchurch, and failed. So, what were we talking about? So character. I thought character moments were nice. Attendance. And streaming service. Thank you. My life.
When he loses his path, when he's already gone veering off the path he was on originally.
Yeah, it's more like a maze in my head. So I don't. A lot of people bang on about the overnights and the viewing figures, and I just think it means shit all.
They still live in 2002.
Well, do you know what I mean? But I see this posted about by basically the Ming Mongs, as they get known, which is actually not as. I mean, it is insulting, and it's meant to be, but it's not insulting how people take it, because it's actually a quote from a Victoria Wood take on Doctor Who. where it's Jim Broadbent as the Doctor, Celia Imrie as the companion, and there's some whole the Crayola is the baddie.
Oh God, I remember Crayola.
Yeah, right. So, and the line Celia Imrie has is, "But Doctor, what about the Ming Mongs?" And that's where Russell T Davies got it from to apply to those pedantic keyboard warrior Doctor Who fans. So it's not a play on mental illness or anything like that, as people take it to be. It's actually from the Victoria Wood sketch, and it just perfectly sums up the people.
Picture Celia saying that line now.
I tried to find the sketch the other day to show somebody, and I couldn't. It's not on. I couldn't find it on YouTube anywhere or anything. But yeah, it's a phrase that
Celia, as if I'm on first name terms with her.
Oh, me and C. She's fabulous, mind. So that's where that comes from, and those are the people that bang on about viewing figures, and I just feel it's not relevant. And especially going forward, now you're going to have worldwide figures for Doctor Who from 2023 from Disney Plus subscription. The overnight figures on the BBC are going to be such a small, and they'll never be allowed to say it because it's the BBC and you couldn't, because they couldn't. But let's be honest, irrelevant. That's going to be such a small and irrelevant part of it going forward. I mean, it's the Diamond anniversary. The new logo is back to the Diamond logo. Lots of people don't seem to have spotted that. Quite a few have, but not everyone. And it's also, if you look at it, it's all in blue, are very similar, because Disney Plus has got a blue. Which way? As we look at it, it goes that way. So from your point of view, it goes that way. That's the Disney Plus logo, which is kind of a light to a dark blue, like you've got from light to dark blue within the logo. It's no accidents in this. It's good marketing. So yeah, the future looks great. But back to Power of the Doctor.
Is that what we were talking about?
Some point probably. I thought this was a great episode for Jodie. She's polished some turds in the last 5 years, let's be clear. I'm looking at you, bloody, that thing with Alan Cumming and the witches, what the fuck. And she's always tried her best. And I've always felt sorry for her, because she took on, not really a poison chalice, but an absolute no-win scenario. And the proof in the pudding is what you've always got to remember is Doctor Who has to appeal to a family audience. That's its beating heart.
Raison d'etre.
I nearly said that, actually. Stay out of my head. And what we think is great, but ultimately what the kids think is better. And the kind of core group of your 8 to 11-year-olds took Jodie to their hearts. And that's what matters. So the fact that she got to turn in a fine final performance, and I don't mean that as in, it's fine, I mean as in fine, is huge. And then, obviously you had Graham back. That was a delight to see. Lovely to see Bradley Walsh back as Graham. I believe Tosin actually is in some show in America now, isn't he? So I'm assuming that's why he wasn't there. And I know, come to that in a sec, actually. So that was nice. Tegan and Ace, loved it. Kate Stewart, love Kate Stewart. Long may she continue to appear as. I mean, hopefully, if she can run as long as we had her father, the other Brigadier, then I'm up for that. Absolutely, because never fails to disappoint. No, wait, what that backwards? Because she doesn't disappoint at all. I wish my tongue and my brain would actually talk to each other once in a while. She never fails to delight, frankly. Sorry, Kate Stewart. Sorry, Gemma. And then you have...
First name terms again.
Yeah, well, me and actors. Now that I've been in the very first ever Welsh opera made, that's what I say. You watch, I'll be completely cut out of it now. That's what will happen. Anyway.
Who cares? You got paid for it.
Not yet, I haven't.
Well, you will do.
Well, hopefully. That's a whole other thing. Apparently some people I say hadn't been paid for since they started work. So we all started going, we better get paid. Anyway, we'll get paid. Anyway. Returning Doctors. Now, I'd kind of been told a long time ago, expect more than their trailering advertising telling you about. So I was expecting...
Teasing.
Yeah, I was expecting more companions than Tegan and Ace, and we got them, briefly, but in a lovely, lovely, lovely scene at the end. I thought that was quite lovely. And I also thought that's quite a thing, isn't it? That's what happened, you know, it's always the question, what happens to people after they leave the Doctor? So it's quite nice that they've now set it up and can actually do stuff with it. You know, a unit spin-off series where former companions, you know, so you don't get the same characters every week. They'll cherry pick people for missions. It would be kind of like Unit does Sapphire and Steel almost.
Well, to be fair, they have kind of, again, tease is the wrong word, because they've kind of, you know, out and out pretty much, you know, given us examples of it. But you know, you just look at, you know, the Sarah Jane adventures.
Yeah.
Technically, Donna, where you basically have, you know, her, you know, from her encounter with the Doctor in the Christmas special, which is one of the few I like, incidentally, to her first appearance. It's basically, yeah, you get to see that what's happened is that she spent her time investigating weird stuff. Yeah, you kind of get a hint of it as well with, was it Martha joining?
Well, Martha joined Unit and Torchwood, and then went off on her own with Mickey, because you saw that at the end of David Tennant's last.
Because they must all be paired off.
Apparently, but it made them Smith and Jones, didn't it? Because he's Mickey Smith and she was Martha Jones, even though they were married, so she became Martha Smith, presumably. Anyway,
you think she wouldn't keep her name?
I hope so. Anyway, we all know she went off to be a lesbian in San Francisco.
You're putting a face. You're the bi person.
I know, but it's just that scene. You know, yes, but Christ.
Whereas weirdly, that's one of my favourite scenes in the entire run, just because it came out of nowhere.
Oh no, I think we know what it came out of. I don't know. It was just, I think it just got me like unexpected, and it stuck with me.
Crazy.
So you're saying, Doctor? Oh fuck me! Sideways.
You want to be making those noises after what we were just talking about?
Yeah, whatever. But yes, and I kind of there've been this leaked photo of them all staying at Home House, which is a gorgeous kind of retreat. You know, if you go out of Penarth up the top of the hill, I think I've pointed it out to you before. That gorgeous big house.
Vaguely.
Yeah. We were sat in the. Actually, I think we were sat in the van. I pointed it out. Anyway.
Is that up the hill as in along the seafront?
Yes.
Okay.
And basically on their social media, they put, oh look, we've got all these doctors staying with us, and it was like Paul McGann, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, and Colin Baker all sat around a dining table with the manager. And then the BBC kind of was like, oh, please take that picture down. So it was like, okay, so they all appear in some capacity then. But of course, there was no guarantee they were going to appear as doctors. There could have been all sorts of other sort of shenanigans involved. But there they were, sat at the...
Charlie.
This cat has got no regard for property. Charlie Mouse, come over here.
You know that's not going to happen.
No, I know. He doesn't do laps. It's because it's roughly feeding time, isn't it? It's like, hi, I'm here for Dreamies. But yes, so that whole kind of precipice of regeneration and the whole I'm your consciousness appearing as you, which is a perfect explanation as to why they didn't quite look how you remembered them, because they could look like anything really. And in the robes, and then the whole Paul McGann doing the whole I don't do robes thing, and Sylvester McCoy has always won. It was glorious. It was lovely, and again, it was just a huge tick to the. Remind this is officially Doctor Who's love letter to the BBC centenary. So the fact that it. Sorry about the wobbling. There's a cat walking around the camera tripod. He's now sat. Charlie, don't knock that. Oh Jesus Christ! Charlie, are you trying to take a picture of Charlie with the camera? I can edit it in. There you go. We have our picture for the end of the video. So also with all of this, what they're complaining about fan service is, it's actually that's also a job it's doing, which is something I thought about while watching the episode. Was actually what this is doing is this is all serving backwards through 59 years of Doctor Who as a major part of the BBC for the BBC centenary. Chris Chibnall, for whatever other faults I might feel are there, would have had that as a brief to create something with. So not only was he trying to wrap up his own era and give Jodie a send-off, he's also got to kind of nod to the BBC and their time, their centenary, while not doing anything that might tread on Doctor Who's anniversary celebrations for next year. So that's quite, I mean, fair play. That's quite a
narrow rope.
Yeah, it's quite a box to be put in, isn't it? So I think, all told, given some of the things he's put out, I've really not liked Sea Devils. This could have been awful, and it wasn't. I enjoyed it. Doesn't stand up to any kind of scrutiny, like you said. Don't care. I'm one of these people who, when it's meant to be fluff, and when it's a episode that's on Christmas Day, or things like, some people say, "Oh, it's no excuse to not be shit, to be shit." I'm like, well, no, but it's an excuse to do something different. And if you don't like it, fine, that's absolutely okay. It doesn't bother me. I'm happy to go along with an adventure that possibly doesn't make the most sense by throwing in the Daleks, the Master, the Companions, the Doctors, the Vinder. Didn't reach the point of Vinder, but bless him, nice actor. But
no, we all know what the point of Vinder was, because it's been pointed out.
What was that?
To shoot the Master.
Could have been anyone else, though, couldn't it? Really?
Yeah, but
Yaz could have done it.
But that was why he was there.
Yeah.
He was literally a plot device.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because he should have been there for him as a character.
Yeah.
But because I actually said this about Dan as a companion, is that from my understanding, both Dan and Vinder basically were brought in during like the Flux. So they've had a very short screen time tenure as companion and character, respectively. I wish you could see what Charlie's doing right now. We are being judged, frankly.
He's turned his back on us. But it's the whole moving around and casually sitting down. I'm just waiting for
food.
No, I'm waiting for just a disaster. Anyway.
Right. But it's, I think for me, because they came in basically as part of something that for me was just an unmitigated disaster from start to finish.
Not like Flux.
I'm basically just largely indifferent to effectively to really, I suppose, to be fair to both of them, which isn't fair, because John Bishop is a solid comedian, a surprisingly good actor. Again, like a lot of people who kind of.
Oh yeah, I've nothing against the actors. Acting. I don't know the guy who plays Vinder's name, but or John Bishop, no complaints.
But as characters, they are, and I think weirdly it kind of stands out more because of the other like fan service and like emotional callbacks you get, and the character development that we got to see for people like Yaz,
who never once said the only way is up.
He's been dying to get that shoehorned in ever since this video started. But it does make them basically really stand out as just being, sort of interchangeable person A and interchangeable person B, which is, again, I think one of the weaknesses of... Also,
given, I presume, I don't know what the writing and production process was for all this, but I think it was kind of all shot roughly as a set of filming. I don't think it was film a special, bugger off for 2 months, come back and do another special or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. But if you knew you weren't going to have Dan in that last one, I'd have had him say goodbye at the end of Sea Devils. It just didn't feel like it was any massive point bringing him in for the train and then getting rid of him. It was a bit like, I don't know if it was suddenly at the last minute John Bishop wasn't available because perhaps filming dates jiggery pokery and suddenly he was on a tour. I don't know, whatever. But it was just a bit like, he comes in, he's on a train, he goes, "Oh, this is a bit much, I'm off."
To be fair, he did nearly die.
Well, yeah, which is, fine. But it just, I don't know. It just felt like it took time out of this episode that didn't need to happen. It could have happened at the end of the last one. So I know lots of people are also disappointed that the Doctor and Yasmin kind of relationship didn't really go anywhere, and I'm just like, well, where was it going to go? Because it was only going to end badly if it started to go somewhere. So the fact that they'd kind of gone, yeah, we're mates and we've kind of acknowledged this, but it's not really going to work long term.
What are they calling that ship? I can't remember.
Thasmin. Which is the Doctor and Yasmin. It should be Dasmin or Docmin or something. Because the isn't really part of the Doctor's name, is it? Is it?
It's more a title.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't choose it. And there was something else I was going to say a minute ago. I thought of someone. Haven't mentioned Sacha Dhawan as the Master. Awesome. He's been such a great Master. Again, in some bonkers stories that haven't always given him coherent plot lines or things that make an awful lot of sense. He's just rolled with it and been batshit crazy, as the Master should be. There's two ways of doing the Master. You're either cold and calculated, or you're fucking nuts. Or you're Michelle Gomez and you absolutely walk the line between them perfectly.
I was about to say Michelle Gomez was both.
Yeah, and
Stay out of my head.
Just oh god, there's got to be a way we can have more Missy. There's got to be. There's just got to be.
Isn't she on Big Finish?
Probably, but I don't do audio because I get 3 sentences in and then I come back.
Doesn't do audio, says the guy trying to start a voice acting career.
Look, lots of people do. Just because I don't. I don't do audio. It's why for 15 years writing radio commercials was brilliant. They were 30 seconds long. That was my attention span. So
He says was.
Yeah, I wrote 3 scripts this afternoon. Who am I kidding? So
no, I'm talking about the attention span.
True.
It's been 30 seconds. He's already forgotten about it.
Yeah. What are we on about? Anyway, just the Bros review. No, that's next. So lots to love, I think, and I tried to work out which panel this actually was. Obviously, we'll never really know because they're all identical, but I've decided as you look at the TARDIS doors, it's on your right, about halfway down the door. I've decided it's that one. Prove me wrong. So overall, we really, really, really liked it. And then, of course, you get that piece that isn't really the power of the Doctor. It's actually the start of Russell's new Doctor Who. And we regenerate clothes and all, which is an interesting touch.
I was thinking about that, seeing as none of the others have ever done
Never
that.
happened before. But, it'll mean something. It won't be an accident. It won't just be we've changed how it works. That's not Russell's thing. That's not how Russell does it. And we had David back. Now, interestingly, I made a couple of predictions for the episode. One was you will see more companions and more old classic cast than you think. That was I was cheating slightly because I'd been tipped off. But also,
I was blatantly an educated guess.
But it was 50-50 as to whether or not the person who told me that was right, based on different things they've told me.
Based on that, it's more like 30-70.
Anyway, love you, bruv.
Yeah, that's not in his favour, by the way, the 30-70.
Rude.
Accurate. Unlike his predictions.
Yeah, he goes with what he's told. Then I said that when if it's regenerating to David, it would be old teeth. That's weird. And then the third thing I said was if it isn't David, you'd get the somewhere in a parallel universe, and it would all be multiverse stuff. So the fact that it did regenerate into David, and it was a line about the teeth, I'm taking as a win. Taking that as a win in my book. And yes, very exciting. Now there's all these. One of the things I've heard, pinch of salt time, is that actually Chibnall wasn't told that someone else was taking over the production of Doctor Who, just that the BBC was stopping it. And he was kind of led to believe, and the wool was pulled over his eyes with kind of careful phrasing and not whole truths, that actually Doctor Who was canned. So what he wrote as an ending was Jodie regenerated into the Timeless Child, fell off the cliff into a wormhole, and fell to where Tecteun found her, making her the first and last Doctor. And it would just loop round and round and round. Which actually, if you were ending the show, that would have worked. That would have worked. It would have been. No, I can't say that because it's a franchise not everyone knows very well. But I know another big franchise that does the same thing. And you get to the very, very end, and it's suddenly you're back at the very beginning again. It's like, ooh. And it winds a lot of people up. But I was like, okay, interesting.
Does this have Gabriel Byrne in it?
Nope.
So it's not that one.
It's not that one. It's not that one. It's a series of books. Anyway, so it's yeah. So that was a rumor. Obviously, then yes, BBC have stopped making it, but BBC Studios are now working with Bad Wolf and Disney Plus to carry on making it. So we have David. We then will have Shooty. Look at that, Charlie.
Damn it! No, I was trying to get him when he was sleeping.
Oh right, sorry. I said his name when he heard Dreamies.
That moment's gone now.
You still get him. He's still dopey looking. So
yeah, I don't want to get him. He's actually asleep.
Oh, okay.
So don't call his name.
Okay. So yeah, very excited. Then there was that. It was barely a teaser, was it? The 15 seconds of let's throw a couple of random clips at you of David, Donna, the TARDIS, and then Shooty randomly at the end because no one knew that Shooty had actually done any filming. So yeah, and now we've got a year apparently to wait. That's the other thing. I did think they were going to surprise us with the first special out at Christmas, given they filmed. And people are talking about the whole thing's being filmed, and I'm thinking, well, if they've got a year, they might have only filmed the first one so far. 2 and 3 might still to film next year around people's schedules. That's not to say they have wrapped all 3. They may have, but given sort of in May and June you saw a little bit of filming, it means that an awful lot happened behind closed doors in private venues or on a set. But as we know from Exhibit A, that TARDIS was taken apart. When did I bring that home? February. It was when I went to one of my very first rehearsals for Clue around Alex and Nikki's.
Something like that. Yeah, because we had it at the old place.
Yeah, and we had it before we went away in March. Yes, I'm going to say probably early February, early to middle February maybe. Is when I first had this. Didn't hang it up in our old house because we were moving, so we waited to move here. So long before they filmed anything with David, that TARDIS interior was dismantled in skips. Or so I'm hearing on eBay, bits of it. So, if you want your own piece, you won't get yours free like mine. Sorry.
Judged by weave.
Judged by my cat. Lovely. So there's no. I've heard seen a few other vloggers talking about will we see? What TARDIS interior are we going to see with David's specials? It won't be that one unless they've rebuilt it, which just seems a bit why spend the money? Just unless they've bought an awful lot of it, enough to just do odd angles of it,
Take it apart,
which is
build it
possible.
again.
Yeah, well, but it was literally in skips. I don't mean the crisps. I mean skips. I think we've gone upstairs to just watch Charlie. Look. So God knows what's
we're
coming.
getting to the end because someone's talking more about the cats than he is about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Who knows what's coming next? Well, Russell does. We've got a year to find out. I mean, there'll be tidbits here and there, I'm sure. What?
There'll be tidbits which will just be endlessly debated.
And the speculation will be just. There's other YouTube channels for that. We don't do that. We enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, we don't really care. Just keep your opinions to yourself. Do not comment down below. We're not that kind of channel either.